Let's go ahead and get this meeting started. 2 o'clock. It's Thursday, May the 2nd, 2024. We're here to review our LATCF SLFRF lettuce and Slurpee money fund requests. And so I'm going to turn it over to Colleen. What do we have? Requests. Who's requesting?
So the first one, I thought he was going to be here, but he did send me an email for Randy. So he would like to request a shed, and it sounds like he's going to put it out here by the new HVAC, so it would be enclosed in the fence. But he's going to build it. He went out and looked at getting hickory sheds. I was calling them bully barns because that's what I grew up with, but a hickory shed, and that just was way too expensive. So he can build one. So the materials for it would be about $1,700 and then $900 in labor. So I think if we approved about $2,500 for him to build that, if that is something that we thought was an appropriate use, and he can put like the snowblower and tools and things that he needs for outside.
Yeah, I was going to give him a place to keep the snowblower.
Yeah, the lawnmower and all that other.
Yeah.
You want to do these separately? As she brings them up, or all together?
What? It's up to you. Right?
Yeah, either one, up to you. Yeah. I think we can put them both in the same one. I got to thinking about our conversation of which one goes where, and I think they can both come out of the same fund. So if you wanted to do both of them and then just approve them or disapprove them, that would be great.
Okay.
And then the other one is, so Jennifer, our counselor, has an opportunity to go to ICAD. Can't remember what that acronym means, but it's a conference down in Boise for drug and alcohol use and mental health providers. So she will get anywhere from 13 to 18 credits depending on the courses that she's taking during that 2 days. It's May 13th through the 16th. We did get funding for the conference itself is paid for at $300. The hotel is paid for at about $600 and a stipend for some of the travel. But rather than flying, she's going to drive. And so that'll be a car rental to get her down there. So we were short because the grant for ILED doesn't pay for travel or meals. So we were looking at getting that, the mileage down there and food for her.
Okay.
I did get a call yesterday. So this is a provisionary ask that Panhandle Health, I had sent feelers out to several different places, and Panhandle Health in particular, because this is specific to the opioid, to say, this came up, it was after the once a year grant period, do you have any kind of discretionary, kind of went into what it was. Well, they called me back yesterday and said, yeah, I think we can do that. So we have a 99% approval to have this paid for, but because it's coming up on the 13th through the 15th, and we need to make sure that that's funded, I just wanted to ask if there would be a way to do that. So it comes to $882.10, doing the travel per diem, the state per diem of the travel, and the 67 cents a mile down and back from Coeur d'Alene.
Was she renting a car?
She is.
So we're using the 60 cents a mile to cover the car?
Fuel.
To cover the fuel?
The car rental is paid for. So we did get a little over $1,300 in scholarship funding to get her down there. The total cost of it, if you add this, is about $2,800. It's almost a $3,000 conference. The side to that is she gets those CE credits, so she has to maintain those to keep her certification, and she's a substance use. She's actually a sought-after counselor. She has, and again, those acronyms, LCSW. So she's a licensed professional that can practice on her own. And this keeps her accreditation up, and we're moving the program towards self-sustaining, so these CEs are important that she keep them up. When we were looking back at how much CEs typically cost, just trying to justify what this looks like, for her profession, they're anywhere from $100 to $200 a credit, depending on how you go after them.
Okay.
So that $800 getting 13 credits or more is a pretty good use of that. And then that fulfills what she needs for the year. So she won't be putting in for reimbursement on any credits that she's seeking.
Yeah, and like we discussed before, is the $882. It's basically they give us the receipt. So we'll if it comes in less or what that's just the way it. So it's based upon
Actual costs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now the state through Panhandle Health that should go through, and then it's just I turn in the report at the end of after she's been there. And back. We give a little bit of summary of what it was, how many CE credits she got. We'll submit the report, and they'll send $882.10 regardless.
Yep.
But if it's something that that little minute that they decide not to fund this, it would be actual receipts for fuel and food.
Yep.
And are we talking Slurpee?
I think both of these would be a good use of the Slurpee money. Yes.
Okay. Because we're coming down to the end of. We have to have it done by.
We have to have everything obligated by the end of this year.
Yep.
And then we have through 26 to spend it, but we have to make sure that
all
2.5 is obligated.
Okay.
And that's the term they're using. So we have to know this is going to go there, and there won't be any shifting after December 31st of this year. So there's some things coming back into the pot, and after we had spoke, I kind of went through this and looked at it, and my concern was that it's not a typical government expense, but we do pay for education and continuing education for employees. So I didn't feel that was out of the realm, unless you guys feel that may not be appropriate.
Okay, I think it works towards our goals of being self-sustaining. Okay, so are those the only two we have today? Okay. Just an FYI, while you were out, the sheriff's office had the heat exchange, something big went down, and more than what they budgeted for repairing, and it turns out, of course, lack of maintenance over 20 years. Okay. Like it didn't look like it had ever been cleaned or filtered, so there may be a request for some Slurpee money to finish the HVAC over there to repair these parts. Okay. Well, I'd entertain a motion to set aside $2,500 for a maintenance shed and $882 pending other resources being used to cover the training from our SLFRF funds.
Okay. So moved. I'm sorry.
So moved. Between the two of us, so we have this covered. Okay.
So moved.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion?
No, I think it's a good idea that we do get a facility over here that we can store our lawnmower and all of our lawn equipment and snow blowers and everything. So I think that's a good deal. And I also agree that that we need to support our, it's got to become self-funding here in 3 years, 2 years, 2 years. So I think this is a good deal.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Perfect.
Anything further?
We'll be sitting down here soon, so I'm going to put it in your pocket to start thinking about projects. There is money coming back into the SLFRF that will not be used. Projects being completed and those that are not going to happen. So just kind of putting out there what, think about projects or services or, I'll just put it under the umbrella of a typical government service that you guys feel we need to sit down and kind of review. I'm working with Peggy. We'll put together a budget, but part of that is what do we need to do, and then also by budget, through our official budgeting process, those have to be obligated for whatever it is. So it'll be like my salary, and the projects that have already been approved, and anything that you wanted to move forward. So that full $2.5 million has to be obligated or spent by the end of 2024.
Okay. And obligated, you mean like you were saying before that it has to, it has to go. We can't use it for something else after. It has to be obligated to say, okay, we're going to buy a chiller or whatever. So it has to go towards that.
That,
And then how long do they give us to be able to purchase that if it's
2 years. So through 26.
okay?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll have 2 years after that. So I don't think there's going to be any problem with it. But
Okay.
the last couple of webinars that they changed the final rule for Treasury. The webinar as of the beginning of this month, they use that term obligated, which meaning contractually that's where it's going to go.
Okay.
There is a potential, but that's unclear to me, so I'm just going to go under the hardest rule possible, that it has to be firmly obligated. But there is a potential that after that time, as long as it fits into it, you can ask for those things to be changed, as long as it stays within those parameters.
Okay. So if it's like, possibly if it's like a backhoe, instead of a case, we're going to get a John Deere, something within the same kind of.
Yeah, and that would be easy enough for obligation, not too worried about that. But instead of, the backhoe falls through, so instead we're going to
Get a dump truck.
Get a dump truck.
Yeah, or put in a building, or put in HVAC, something completely different than just that piece of equipment that maybe you have to vary on what the contract says, but it's still a piece of equipment. I feel like that can stay within that. It'll be just the not like apples to oranges kind of thing, if there's a change.
Okay.
So, like one of the ideas we discussed, I think would still be viable would be to use some of that to pay if we're going to remodel and create office space for the 3 commissioners that we've been promising to do. And then the wage study. So we have some things we've brought up in the past that we could, do we have any idea how many dollars we're going to be looking at?
Enough for both of those projects. I hate to throw out a number right now, but it's 6 figures.
Okay.
It's coming back into it.
Okay.
Well, that's total left. So, there's still like the 120 something that's left in that 800,000 that was set aside. The air burner, there's still about 15,000 in that. So there's like 200,000 just in the already obligated to county maintenance. And then some of the other projects, the monies that are coming back in, it's pushing upwards of about 4.
But we could use some of it to offset maintenance, so that we're helping
Government
our budget.
What would you normally do in government services?
Maintenance.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be a huge thing, is getting back on top of those maintenance schedules. I think that's going to be a great use for that, because it sets you up better for the next budgeting years to not have to be so much band-aiding, and it can be appropriate maintenance rather than reactive maintenance.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. This meeting is adjourned.
All right, let's